Now we'd like to recognize casualties of integration. Those of us who will remember North Baton Rouge, we had many Black-owned businesses in the area. I'd like to bring up Sister Bobby Clark, who will give us a list and an idea of what North Baton Rouge looked like prior to integration.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here amongst all my sisters and brothers. I arrived in Scotlandville in the 4th grade. We lived in the park, and my father felt my brother was getting in a lot of trouble, so we moved to Scotlandville. And some of us went to Scotlandville, started Scotlandville Elementary, and then on to Scotlandville High. I attended the lab school, and it was so beautiful being in the area. One of the things I noticed right away was that there were so many Black businesses, and I would like to give you a list. Before I do that, I would like to share with you what this demise has done to our communities, or to us as Black people. I run a tutoring service, and my appreciation is that most of the elementary schools now, public schools, are housed mostly with white teachers. And I see it in the children who not only are not getting the skills, also are very, very timid and don't have that strength I'm used to seeing in kids who are in elementary school. And I share that because when you start to break down our babies, then you can be assured that there's a plan in place to, as discussion is going on all over and we're just ignoring it, is that it is the demise of the Black community. And as I see the children, they really know the information. It's just that the fear inside of them, they're intimidated. And so I encourage us to really pay attention to our children and listen to their cry. I'd like to give you a list of the businesses that were in the Scotlandville area during the 60s. This list, I was assisted in compiling this list by Donald Shellmeyer and Wesley Belton. Now, Wesley Belton's father was Mr. Belton, who was over the 2nd Ward Voters League. And so this is a lot of history, and they were very familiar. I want to start with the grocery stores. Some of these I had not heard of. Sam Smith, Joseph Grocery, Dotson Grocery, Nobby's, Fox Food, Kelly's Grocery, which was one was located on Scotlandville Avenue and another on Central Road. Bradley's, I remember that one on Bradley Road. Abrams, and that was on, what's that street? I can't think of the name of it right now, but I can. Rosenwald, thank you. Haynes Grocery, Sewell's Grocery, which was right there on Scotland Avenue. And then also there was Red and White, Grimes Grocery, McFarland's Grocery, Wheelock Grocery, Kelly's Grocery on Scenic Highway, Abe's Grocery on Bradley Road, Matt's Grocery, and the Trask Grocery Store. Cafes and restaurants, Holden's, Banks, Bradford's, College Drive-In, Tally Ho, and Ethel Snack Shack. Ice cream stands, Miles, which was at Blunt and Scenic, Fox Drive-In, and Smithy's. Service stations and auto repair, Jackson Esso, Newman Esso, Levis Shell Station, Meads Esso, and Gilmore Golf. Auto repair shops, Plumber's Auto Repair Shop and Garner's Auto Repair Shop. Auto parts stores, Plumbers Again, and Horatio Thompson. Horatio Thompson also played a role in the development of Southern Heights. Lumberyard, Jenkins Lumberyard. I remember the day they burned it, they just put it afire, just set it afire. And everywhere you heard, my parents were like screaming and everybody, and I jumped out of bed. And then we found that they had burned it down. Jenkins Lumberyard was responsible for building all of the houses in Scotlandville as well as all of the houses in Southern Heights. And one morning it was gone. And whatever happened, it never was built again. And this was Jenkins Lumberyard. I could never remember it not being there from a little girl. And then all of a sudden, it was just set afire. And there was never a big discussion about what happened to the lumberyard. And it was just gone. It was just set afire. And I mean, being a lumberyard, it burned to the ground. We don't know. Nobody ever found out who did it. Motels, Banks Motel, Flicker Street Motel, and Robinson Motel. Auto body shops, Arthur Franklin and Jacob Wright. Upholstery shops, Evans Upholstery Shop and Banks Upholstery Shop. Dry cleaners, Dearworth Jet Cleaners, Varsity Cleaners, and Cox Cleaners. Cox was our relative, and I remembered my dad, you know, no matter who talked about wanting to clean our clothes, only Cox could clean the clothes. I mean, that was that bond that you had for your relatives and other blacks at that time. It was a real community. It was awesome. I just feel so blessed to have grown up during that time. And you know, I never ever regretted going to a segregated school. And I sometimes feel sorry for the kids today because they miss this wealth of this closeness, this protection. And all of our friends graduated. If somebody got pregnant, the whole school knew it. It was just that unusual. And it was like everybody knew we were going to graduate and you were going to go out and get a job or you went on to college. You didn't just sit around. It was a plan. And you were asked, your parents asked you, now what's your plans? What's your plans? I need to know what you plan on doing. You're not sitting around here after you graduate. It was clear. Also, drugstores. There was Pooh's Drugstore and Bell's Drugstore. Real estate companies, Jenkins Realty and Max Real Estate. Any of these ring a bell, you guys? All right. Insurance companies, Hayes Insurance, funeral homes, Scotts Bluff and Cox Funeral Home. Don't ever remember anybody else burying any of my people other than Cox. Shoe repair shops, Charlie's Shoe Shop. Photography studio, Daisy Jones. Medical doctors, Dr. Robert Hall, who's a general practitioner, Dr. Davis, who's a dentist, Dr. Dyer, also a dentist, and Dr. C.J. Gilliam, an optometrist. Transportation, Scotland Bus Line, London Brothers Cab, BJ Offley Cab, Smitty's Cab, and Beatty's Cab. And I remember oftentimes you got ready to go downtown, then you took one of these cabs to get there. Also, we had a bank, First Federal Savings and Loan. I remember everybody put together and contributed to starting this bank. And I don't remember anybody in Scotlandville who didn't have money in the bank. And our pictures would be in the weekly press. And they would put all of our, I remember there were 7 of us. You can imagine all of us being in the newspaper, all of us with our little hair sticking up everywhere. And then there was the printing press, Fraternal Press. And Fraternal Press, that was Mr. Jenkins. And he was anything that was printed, invitations, funeral programs, whatever you did in Scotlandville, you better believe Mr. Jenkins at Fraternal Press had a hand in it. And then the movie theater. Yep, we had our own movie theater, Cox Theater. And we would walk through the theater, and that was another thing. No matter where you lived as a child, you walked to wherever you were going. You didn't even think about it. The danger we see today is not the danger we felt earlier in life, and it was so beautiful. The sisterhood and the brotherhood is something we have to get back. It is not an option. It is something that we must do, and each and every one of us in this room today must understand that our children, especially our children in public school, they're in loads of trouble. 80% of the children in public school are black, 20% either Asian or white. Most of those Asians and whites are in what's called the gifted programs. They do not come to school at the same time. They do not eat in the cafeteria at the same time. And they feel they're the elitist. And they're the reason that the public schools exist. And it's only because we allow them to have this kind of feeling about us. Because every time they do that, they are doing that to each and every one of us. Thank you so much.